Felt so good to sing a Beatles song up here, even if I didn't do it the justice that John did. I want to read a little bit from this book. 5 years ago, I decided in my madness to write Leonard Cohen's biography, and he decided in his madness to let me, hence beginning a very interesting relationship in which I discovered all sorts of things, but chief among them that he used to be a ukulele player. This meant a great deal to me because I'd been taking my uke on the road with me to do research. You know, I'd spent a year going from Montreal to the monastery where I'd lived on Mount Bordy, and, you know, just on my own trying to track down people and get stories. And so I'd become sort of really obsessed with the ukulele over the years, and that just kept me company. And when the book came out, I started going on the road and doing readings, but, you know, it's kind of weird just reading, so I thought, well, I'll just sing his songs, and pretty much like that, just choosing a key and seeing what would happen. But I'll read you a little passage first, and that'll be the only passage I read unless people beg, scream, plead and cry for more. There won't be too much of it. And it's actually from chapter 2, which is called House of Women, which I kind of figure that I worked out Leonard and his thing with girls. His dad had died when he was 9 years old, and so he was raised in a house of women, his older sister and his mum, that was all. And I think by having these women who doted on him, kind of gave him the encouragement and support to do what he needed to do. But it also made him want to run in the opposite direction of any woman as quickly as possible. But one of the other things I did when I was looking through his archives, he gave me, crazily, access to all of his archives. I was digging through like a crazy woman, finding all this stuff. I found this little book. It's a book of hypnotism, and I read it all the way through, and it seems to be like the kind of, if you ever wrote The Idiot's Guide to Leonard Cohen, the first thing you would need to do is read this book. So, in his early teens, Leonard developed a keen interest in hypnosis. He acquired a slim, pocket-sized, anonymously written book with the title 25 Lessons in Hypnotism, How to Become an Expert Operator, and the extravagant claim of being, quote, the most perfect, complete, easily learned and comprehensive course in the world, embracing the science of magnetic healing, telepathy, mind reading, clairvoyant hypnosis, mesmerism, animal magnetism, and kindred sciences. On the front cover, beneath a crude sketch of a Victorian lady held spellbound by a wild-haired gentleman, Leonard wrote his name in ink in his best handwriting and set about his studies. It turned out that Leonard had a natural talent. Finding instant success with domestic animals, he moved on to the domestic stuff. He had this little dog called Tinky. He's hardly got any photos in his house of anyone. There's a guru here, his mum, and there's this little black dog, Tinky. Really, it's not a Leonard Cohen name, is it? Finding instant success with domestic animals, he moved on to the domestic staff, recruiting as his first human subject the family maid. At his direction, the young woman sat on the sofa. Leonard drew a chair alongside, and as the book instructed, told her in a slow, gentle voice to relax and look into his eyes. Picking up a pencil, he moved it slowly in front of her face, back and forth, and succeeded in putting her in a trance. Disregarding or depending on one's interpretation, following the author's directive that his teaching should only be used for educational purposes, Leonard instructed the maid to undress. What a moment it must have been for the adolescent Leonard. I think we should all sing Alleluia at this point. I should say he was 13 years old. We're not talking about some sort of like Jimmy Savile thing. I mean, he was kind of a kid, and probably the maid wasn't that old and was pretending anyway. I imagine probably 3 buttons felt like naked to Leonard. But what a moment it must have been for the adolescent Leonard, this successful fusion of arcane wisdom and sexual longing, to sit beside a possibly naked woman in his own home, convinced that he made this happen simply by his talent. When he found it difficult to awaken her, Leonard started to panic. He was terrified his mother would come home and catch them, though one imagines this was simply had a sense of impending doom, despair and loss to the heady mix that would make it even more exquisitely Leonard Cohen-esque. Chapter 2 of the Hypnotism Manual might have been written as career advice to the singer Leonard would become. It cautioned against any appearance of levity and instructed, "Your features should be set firm and stern. Be quiet in all your actions. Let your voice grow lower, till just above a whisper. Pause a moment or two, you will fail if you try to hurry." When Leonard recreated this episode in his 20s in his first novel, The Favourite Game, he wrote, quote, "He had never seen a woman so naked. He was astonished, happy and frightened before all the spiritual authorities of the universe. Then he sat back to stare. This is what he had waited for so long to see. He wasn't disappointed and never has been." Although it is ascribed to a fictionalized alter ego, it's hard to imagine these sentiments were not Leonard's own. Decades later, he will still say, quote, "I don't think a man ever gets over that first sight of the naked woman. I think that's Eve standing over him. That's the morning and the dew on the skin. And I think that that's the major content of every man's imagination. All the sad adventures in pornography and love and song are just steps on the path towards that holy vision." The maid, incidentally, was a ukulele player. So it should be the minor fist bump. An instrument his fictional alter ego took for a lute, and the girl by extension for an angel. And everybody knows naked angels possess a portal to the divine.